G'day and welcome back to my channel. It's been a little while since I've uploaded some content. I haven't been very active in the workshop. I'll give you part of a reason here. Alright, this is a graph of February 2024 maximum temperature. So we've had, 45-degree days. You can see we've only got a couple of, I think they were 29-degree days, and then the rest has been significantly hot. That was yesterday. It's a little bit cooler today, but I'm still not back in the workshop. So what I thought I'd do is I go back through the archive, and I've got a work in progress on the Mini project. So I thought I'd just upload some of that and create a bit of a part one. You'll find engine reassembly, painting, etc. there, and for your enjoyment and entertainment. So what we have here is gearbox. So I've cleaned up the outside, and this morning I've gone a bit crazy with some brake clean, and I've given the internals a really good hose out, and followed that up with a whole bunch of engine oil, which I then drained out, and then I filled up with some more engine oil and drained that out, and I did that 3 times in total. I also when I had a lot of brake clean, I poured some down the pickup tube and blasted that out with compressed air, and that was before the oil bath. Surprising amount of sort of leftover oil and detritus came out, nothing that was concerning. Step one here this morning though is I'm going to get the output shafts on. They go on the gearbox here. These gaskets had failed, so they were leaking. I have new gaskets on both sides, so it's here and here. What I also want to do today is paint the block. Gearbox stays in natural alloy, and the block here, it's been cleaned. Excuse me, go to sneeze. Excuse me. So block's been cleaned. There's a little bit of light surface rust on there, so I'll hit that with a cheek poker, and then prep that for painting. I'm going to put that just rested on top of the gearbox for that purpose, and then I'll see how much further I get from there. I've also got the cylinder head to paint, so all 3 assemblies are going to be. Actually, I changed my mind. I might just turn the block up on its head on the bench here to paint it, and so I can get everywhere I need to go. That's really it for now. I'm going to get cracking. So this job's very straightforward. It's just 2 gaskets, 5 shims on one side, 1 shim on the other. 5 shims on one side and 1 on the other. That's how it came apart, so that's how it's going to go back together. And I have the bolts here to put it back together. So yeah, these are new seals already, so we don't have to worry about those. All right, cracking on. Okay, let's get started. So I like to use this Permatex Aviation Former gasket, as it's a non-drying, non-silicone gasket sealer, and so we just paint a little bit on. To use sparingly, I think, would be the term, and that will ensure a good bond. I made a bit of a screw up here, I can see already. So there's a hole here which now has Permatex on it. So I'll have to clear that out. Yeah, so presumably we've got oil that lubricates the bearing through this little port here. Which is now clear. Okay, so it's identical on both sides. Okay. All right. Now these housings are identical both sides, but I've retained the orientation for each side, so I think it's always a good practice. Put them back the way they came. What I might need to do, that gasket's just fallen off again. I'll put it on this side of this housing. Alright, so this is where the oil comes in. Okay, so the pieces like that. And then so I'm going to need 5 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are 5 bolts. These have all been through the parts washer. Just going to hit them with a bit of WD-40. Okay, so I have the manual. It's got all of the torque settings here. So this would be the end cover bolts of the differential housing, and they are at 18 foot-pounds, and I'll get to drive shaft flange nuts here. They are 70 foot-pounds, and then align it to the next split pinhole. Alright, let's grab the torque wrench. I made a slight error as well. There are 2 shims on this side, not 1. They were sort of stuck together, so. Alright. Just moving in a diagonal pattern. Get some even stress on this thing. Sort of multi-pass as well. They don't take much torque at 18.4, whatever it was. All right. So on the drive shafts, this is the flange of the drive shaft. This running surface here that runs against a seal, I've taken that down with 2000 wet and dry, just giving it a good polish up. And we'll just take some assembly lube on here. You don't want to go in and dry, mate. It's never a good thing. Okay, so just run a bit of WD down here as well on the splines. Very good. Drive shaft nuts. Castellated nut has a hole. Excuse me, a hole for the split pin. Now, what did we say the torque was? What did we say it was? 34. Okay, 70 foot-pounds and a line to next cotter pin hole. All right. Okay, so what I got set up here is I put U-bolts from the uni joint just on one side, and that gives me with a breaker bar, I've got some really good leverage here, so I'll just run that up to 70. Okay, hopefully we're close to there's the cotter pin hole there, so we need to advance it about 3 millimeters. Almost there. Another 1.5 mm. And that will be perfect. Split pins or cotter pins, the longer leg gets bent over the end like that, and the smaller end gets bent down in there. So I'll just get a little hammer and tap it in. And that's that side done. So I'm going to get on and do the other side, and we'll catch you on the other side of that. Okay, I've done what I need to do with the gearbox. That's now safely under the bench again. I've got a bit of PPE on because I'm using some acid to prep my block. Okay, so you can see the bits that I've treated, just brushed on a little bit of HCl. The same thing I think you find in the US is muriatic acid, but you can see it just decimates it, rusts pretty quickly. I didn't want something that leaves a protective coating on because I just want the paint to go directly on. So once I've prepared this and it's been converted, I'll wash it off and then mask up the bits that I don't want paint to get into. Obviously the lower half of the engine as well. So I'll bring back when I'm ready to start painting. Okay, preparation is complete. So just a quick word about some of the chemistry involved here. So hydrochloric acid plus the iron oxide, or the rust, it does create a compound called ferrous chloride, which is still quite reactive. So in order to neutralize that, you need to add an alkaline. I used sodium carbonate and sodium percarbonate, basically the components of a dishwasher tablet. So just brush that on, and that's what you've got left. And I've hit that with a bit of cleaner, and now we're ready to go. Okay, first pass. I've hit it with some etch primer to give my paint some good adhesion. Minimal overspray. Made sure I taped up the camshaft there. A few peppers of overspray there, which I'll get off with some thinners. And that's us until the next step. Okay, here are some other parts that need painting. So I've already primed timing cover. The head's all prepped, ready to go. Rocker cover. I picked up this old rocker cover from the club spare parts bin. It's much more in keeping than what I had. I had a sort of finned alloy job. So there's that one, and here's the plate that that holds the cam in. This is the side that you'll see the most. Only a little bit on the back needs doing. So we're ready to hit that with some primer, and I'll let it dry overnight and then come back tomorrow with the engine paint in its original metallic pea green. I'll bring you back when I've done this. Okay, so this is the finished product. We have all the things that are going to be engine painted now undercoated, primed, and good to go for tomorrow. All right, so I finished painting. Really happy with the result. It came off the gun extremely well. No drips, no runs. Beautifully glossy. Love it. All right, let's get this camshaft degreed and get some assembly happening. You got your exploded view. So we got the mounting plate next. It goes on here like this. Yeah, I don't have a specification for torque wrench setting on those, and so I'm just going to nip them up. Nip them up. All right, well, I'm going to get the timing chain on, I hope. It could well be tricky. Okay, so we got new timing chain. Existing sprockets. I might set this up at top dead center, which best done, I suppose, with a wrench. Okay, it's right near there. There's a dot here. Obviously, the two dots need to line up, so it's going to be somewhere like this. Dot, yeah. Just sneak in here. Sneak in here with a chair. Okay, camshaft is turning. Needs to be kind of there. It's got a keyway that needs to line up. No. Even worse. Gonna go back. Link that way. And then another link. Like it's going to be something like that. Hmm. I'll just quickly refer to the manual. Stand by. Okay, so the alignment of the dots has it running center line through center lines. So if these two, if you pass a line through here, that's not going to run a center line. Alert, that's the one. That's Neo. Let's get him tippy tapped on. Okay, let's have a look. Let you have a look. Why don't you go and have a look? Yeah, those dots are aligned to center lines. No problem. Top dead center. Okay, this is a setup I've got here. So you've got the dial meter on the piston at top dead center, what I think is top dead center. And I'll just run it this way. So there's no parallax, fine wire that can't move, it's been tightened around that. 0 degrees shown there. Now I think what I do is first of all confirm top dead center. So what I'm going to do is rotate this just a nominal, let's say 50. We go, when that hits 50, just exactly 50. What does this say? This says 8.5 degrees. Go back the other way. Oh, sorry. So it was there. Going back the other way now. Back to 50. Oh. That there. I had to land exactly. I think I just done that 50. And now this is saying 8.5. Yep, that's top dead center set. Right. So what we do is put it back to 0, which is our top dead center mark. And now we're ready to do some degreeing. Okay. Okay, so this isn't going to be a lesson on degreeing in a cam. There's a billion videos online for that, but suffice it to say, I've got the full lift at the inlet at 106 degrees after top dead center off the cam card. I've then measured by a process of getting on to maximum lift, setting 0, rotating the engine clockwise to get off the cam to a certain point, and then bring it back to 5 on the dial gauge before 0, just to make sure that you're not quite up on the top of the cam lobe there. Take a measurement on the degree wheel at that point. Do the same but in the opposite direction of engine rotation. So the first reading I got was 97. Then did the exact same thing but in the opposite direction. I got 114.7. I could have rounded up to 115. That gives you 211.7. Average that, 105.9, which is close enough to 106. The cam's degreed in. Hope that makes sense. Straightforward, eh? Right, fuel pump. I'm going from electric fuel pump. I'm going back to manual. The electric one's too noisy, clickety-clacking away. And it so happens I bought this fuel pump for the Morris. So yeah, same block. It'll fit that. Got gaskets and all. So yeah, we'll get that on now. Righto, fuel pump on. There is method to my madness for doing it now and not later, because with the engine separate from the gearbox, you can actually see where the actuating arm of the pump rides on the cam, and it has to be on there straight. So you can screw that up if it's in the vehicle, especially if it's you leaning over the bonnet trying to get it in. So anyway, that's set correctly now. Going to roll the motor over and distributor drive and things like that. Slight change in plan. I decided to bolt that on, which is probably a reasonable idea. I'm going to do the timing cover. Needs a new seal in there, which set up and do. Yeah, well, the Model T rear bearing sleeve puller is a perfect fit for that, because in here it's a metal washer basically that you don't want to be smashing on the rubber. You'll screw that up. So if that sits in perfectly well, it will go in. Great. Or I forget, get the oil slinger. Yeah. Oil slinger. So yeah, now just gasket. Gonna get my paint out, bring you back. Pretty. Now water pump. I've got the bolts for the water pump in the ultrasonic cleaner. Get them cleaned up and we'll get them on. Okay, distributor drive. So that's this here. Now, because I haven't got it mounted on the gearbox, I can fit it without screwing a stud in there or something to hold it. You just wouldn't want it to drop into the sump if it was there. So this has a very specific orientation, because when the distributor's on there, you want number one pointed the right way. So you set it to top dead center and then endeavor to get it in sort of at the 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock position, with its final resting place at sort of the 20 to 2 position, like that. So I'm going to start with a bit of assembly lube. This end runs in a bush in the block. You get some on the gears as well. And the other point of contact is in the block here with this edge of the, so in the block with this edge here. So we'll assembly lube that up as well. Alrighty, so it goes in. Not sure I'll be able to hold it, but there we go, we'll see. In fact, it's probably good practice to, I'll screw a stud in there so I can hold it. Going to be a bit easier. I think maybe a rocker cover. This is one of the rocker cover bolts. Yeah, that's good. It's a fine thread. So gives you a little handle there. Okay, so yeah, that's 20 20 to 2. The distributor will now go in properly. Let's try and get the next part in. So this is the part we adjust the distributor with. I'm not sure what you would call that really. I'm just going to tap that into position here. It's got a bolt that holds it through there. All right. And that looks like a little 7/16, which I should have on a socket here. The only gasket really, there was an O-ring on this, so it was one that I had to replace. The other one was stiff. Another thing I'll show you, yeah, I painted up my, this is actually a harmonic balancer, so inner and outer ring and in between is some vulcanized rubber. See, it's looking in good condition. I did actually, I trimmed off with a razor blade the existing rubber that was there. I got a bit of a fright that, here they are, got a bit of a fright that the existing vulcanized rubber was completely perished. So I'm not sure if you can see that. Very, very cracked and perished by all appearances, outward appearances there. I just got a razor and shaved it off, and it's actually very supple and still in good condition. So these are, surprisingly, these are almost $300 or $400. So yeah, avoiding replacement is a good strategy. I'm going to clean this out and get it on the end of the crankshaft to paint up the bolt as well. So it's looking pretty decent. Ooh, as I drop it on the floor, at least onto my boot. Okay, I want a little bit of sandpaper / scour. It just feels a bit rough in there. Just a bit of just 180 grit, something like that. It's only so that it slides on easily. Wow, that carby cleaner really wants to take the paint off. Okay, that's the position for the crank pulley / harmonic balancer. table's going to fall off, collapse. Alright. And let's get you down here to get some more pieces of the action. Now this is a big 1 5/16. It proved hard to start just a little while ago, actually. Not sure what the story is. Let's give us some juice. No way. Instant result with a bit of juice. Actually, what I did want to do, which is now slightly foiled by the addition of juice, to drop a bit of Loctite on there. Yeah, it's only the red one, so it's not going to prevent future endeavors. All right, there we go. Okay, that's it bottoming there. It should do it. Okay, hopefully you can see this port here. Now it takes a plunger, a spring, and it's held captive by this cap which screws in. I'll take some of that paint off, it looks pretty ugly. And we've got a couple of washers on here too. Oh, sorry, one crush washer. I shall go and find a new one of those. Doesn't want to come off just like that, so I'll have to get that off. I have got new one, new crush washer, clean that off, and then we'll position that plunger in there. Presumably it's an oil pressure relief, and I'm presuming it controls oil output to here. I think that's the oil filter. Bolts on there, and it runs across with a copper pipe from memory. All right, get those together. Okay. Shiny. I don't know why you'd paint it. It's nice stainless. And we got a new crush washer on there. Now, I'm just looking at this surface here. It's obviously like a sealing of some sort. It says in a valve. Does that go in there? Does it go in there? Oh, it goes in here, dude. That's the oil line. apart. I'm going to use a wrench on that. So we just want to crush that up. Like so. I'll give it a little more of a tweak. A little bit. Good. Let's go and find this bizzo. Okay, I have a bag of stuffs which says oil filter housing, and that's set up there. I'm going to clean that up. That's supposed to be copper pipe, but it'll look nice, all polished up. So, and that aluminium needs a bit of attention as well. So I might crack the pipe off here. We've got a banjo bolt in there. Needs new copper washers, which I have. So I'll crack on and do some cleanup. A little bit of something neat here. So this is the housing which I bought when I first got the car back in 2006. It replaces the canister filter with a spin-on, and so spin-on just regular filter, and it's got this nice little check valve here, which would stop the oil from draining back. So oil can go through, but when you turn the engine off, it doesn't it doesn't flow backwards, which is pretty cool. There we have it. Very steampunk looking piece of kit. Wasn't copper, as it turns out, just steel, but nice brass end on it. So that goes like that. Yeah, like I say, steampunk. Pretty beefy. And the old retaining bolts there. 9/16. Big kick-ass banjo bolt. It needs a bit of a clean-up. We'll get that done too. Alright, as the bench wire brush winds down, very clean bolt. That's my dog. I must go rescue that person outside. Yeah, a fella rocked up next door to remove the porta potty from the building site, or the portable toilet. And I'm not sure if you can hear that, but that's my new neighbour. Taking off in his SRT Jeep Grand Cherokee. Why is that fighting there a bit? It's pinching something. I'm going to just back it off. I don't like that. Uncle Charles has a bigger potato than me. Hey Jake, what's going on, mate? Well, there's some bad people next door. Alright, so we had the start of some munt going on there. Oh geez, it worries me. And what do we have going on here? Nothing. It was catching somehow on that copper washer, because that is nowhere near, that is not even resisting. That is butter. Alright. I'm not seeing what size that is. Excuse me, so I can, is it 1 inch? So I can put a larger amount of leverage on it with my bar here. I'm not going to put all the torques on this. I just don't have the right level of confidence with one of these things, these wrenches, not rounding it off. So just going to give it a little bit of welly, like that. Not too much welly, just a little bit. Enough to squash those copper washers just a tad. Okay. This will be oil pressure switch. Get the theme of oil around this part of the engine. Now I think I've got one of these. Alright, now the trouble is, I don't know whether this is an oil pressure switch or a brake switch that goes into in the Mini, it goes into the hydraulic brake system. And as luck would have it, same thread, maybe. Might just wander up to the Mini and see if that's what it is. Yes, the mystery is solved. That's the brake switch. This is what it had in the oil pressure. So I think it goes that way. It had a mechanical oil pressure gauge, so we'll get that back in there, because it's likely that the next gauge I get, I'm going to put a gauge in. I'll have the same fitting. So, see, I might need to put a little something on that to stop it from leaking out. I might put an O-ring on that. Got plenty. All right. What's next? I'm thinking I want to do the cylinder head, but I think let's get the engine on the gearbox. I think that's going to be the next natural kind of point there. Yeah, I'm fixing to get the gearbox on, and all those gasket mating surfaces are nice and clean. But I have noticed at the last minute that there is literally gasket still on here. So that needs some careful scraping off. I was thinking setting up the camera and, you know, letting you watch a couple of hours of gasket scraping. Sunday afternoon's entertainment. Yeah, but nah, that's not going to happen. Well, I thought I was joking. You thought I was joking. Yep, 2 hours to get that gasket off. Had to double nut all the studs, get all the studs off, and it was so badly stuck on there. It was a combination of thinners and wire brush to get that off. But anyway, that's done. I'm packing it in for today. It's been a full day, believe it or not, and I'll resume tomorrow.